I'm Audra. Welcome to Carrion with Audra Carrion. That is me. I am married to a municipal firefighter. I am the mom of 3 and a bonus mom to 1. I grew up in the same city that I'm raising my kids in. I'm a full-time remote worker in InsurTech, and I own the Carrion Collective. That houses Carrion Fire Family, which you are watching right now. I also have a different community called the Carrion Community, where I share small businesses and restaurants in the Tri-Valley and beyond. So if you can check them out, Carrion Community on Instagram if you're in the Bay Area. I am not a naturally happy person. I'm actually very introverted. And I'm pretty insecure around new people specifically. My husband is the talker. If you've met him, you know. He can hold a conversation with literally anyone. I have to work on it, and I have to work on my happiness every day. I have to physically and mentally make myself happy. That might sound weird, but that's true. It really took me a long time to learn how to be happy. I'm a very anxious person. I have definitely noticed over the last years that my anxiety has rubbed off on my kids. If I had to do it over again, I would have learned how to control my anxiety a long time ago so that my kids didn't inherit that. I have been podcasting now for 5 years. You probably recognize me from a different podcast. I just want to thank you for being here. I absolutely found my passion at podcasting. It got me out of my comfort zone. It got me talking about myself, which is not easy to do. I'm very uncomfortable talking about myself, as are most people. It gave me more confidence and drive to really help others find their voice. And that's why I want to continue to podcast, because I know how important it is for all of us to find our voices and to tell our stories. For me, I want you to know I am not a sit around kind of girl. I love to be out doing things with friends, which might be counterproductive to me saying that I'm actually very insecure and an introvert. I'm one of 5 siblings, so I'm very used to controlled chaos. One thing about me you will know is that I will pack up my kids and go on any planned trip, even if my husband is stuck on duty. I will not change my plans anymore when my husband is on duty. Now, I say that I have teenagers. It's different. When I had littles, yes, I canceled my plans frequently when I could not find someone to help me with them. My vibe is everything is not for the internet. Not every struggle or every highlight of life. We get to choose what we share, and I think that is a beautiful thing. It doesn't mean that we're being fake. It just means I have boundaries. I can have a life on the internet and a real life in real life. I am very funny. I am very sarcastic. I've been through a lot of shit. I have 0 regrets. I love my life, and I love sharing my version of being a firewife while also making people laugh. I try to keep it light because I know how hard this life is. Everyone's life looks a little different, and that is what everyone's life is a little different, and that is what makes the world interesting. How boring would it be if we were all exactly the same? Here's some fun facts about me. I love to bake, and if you follow me on Instagram, you will see I love trials and errors, so I'm always making mistakes and always fixing them and trying again. I already said I've been a firewife for 18 years. We are a military family. My stepdaughter is a Marine vet. All of us at one time or another have been in therapy. Yep, it really helps. I love helping my community. I still do not know what I want to be when I grow up. I'm 45. I am a avid and monthly contributor to suicide prevention awareness and mental health. I am also an equal rights advocate, especially for women's rights and the LGBTQ plus community. Hopefully, you're all here for the same reasons as me. If not, that's okay too. We don't have to all agree, but there are certain things that I will not compromise, and those are them. I have learned over time that no matter what you say, someone is going to be offended. My job is not to make anyone change their views, but hopefully you will have more compassion for what others are saying and feeling, and you're actually listening. Because if we're not learning, we are not growing. We cannot stay stuck in the same place, especially now. That's what I hope you get out of this podcast. That's me in a nutshell. So let's talk about what it's like being a working mom and a stay-at-home mom, because I've actually been both. When I first met my husband, he was not a firefighter. He was a security guard, if you would say, at a nightclub. And it was not even something that we had discussed, him being a firefighter. Somewhere in the 2000s, he decided he was going to go to EMT school because he wanted to learn how to be an EMT. Great. Okay. So started at EMT school, and then he got a job as an EMT in San Francisco. And from there, he went to the fire academy. He absolutely found his groove, and it really made sense. In 2001, got a job as a seasonal firefighter with CDF. Now it's CAL FIRE. That's how old we are. It was my first experience with him being a firefighter, and not shortly after he got hired, 9/11 happened. And I had to watch 9/11 happen while he was on duty. I still know exactly where I was when it happened. I still can recount the day like it was yesterday. And it was, I think, oh my God, 24 years ago, 25 years ago. I can't even do math anymore. So fast forward. 2001, we were living together. And we had his daughter on every other weekend. When we got married in 2002, I was still working full time, and he was going to paramedic school. So I was the breadwinner. I was the one making all of the money. He was only working part time. He wasn't able to do paramedic school and work full time and have my stepdaughter on the weekends. It was too much. So I worked full time. I had a really good job at the county. I continued to work, and then I got pregnant. In 2004, I had our first, and I got to stay home for 11 weeks and then went back to work. And I remember I was pumping in the bathroom, coming home on my lunch to breastfeed. He was still in paramedic school. He was working on the ambulance on the night shift. He was taking care of our baby during the day. And I continued to work for 5 years while he applied at many places. In the early 2000s, it was very hard to get a job as a firefighter. Everybody wanted to be a firefighter. When there was one spot open, there was 500 people applying. I don't think that happens anymore, to be completely honest with you. So he got looked over many times, and it was very frustrating for all of us. But hindsight, there was a reason for everything. So in 2007, I was pregnant, and my department got taken over by a third party, and I got laid off. And that was a huge blessing. My husband asked me if I wanted to just stay home for a little while because I was almost ready to pop. He was still working on the ambulance. He was able to get a lot of overtime, and it worked out for us. So I got laid off in July, had our second, his third, in October of 2007. And then about 3 weeks after I had our baby, he got a call that he got an interview with the chief. And I was so happy. So happy. It was literally God's timing. I fully believe that. Somebody was looking out for us. So December of 2007, he got the call that he had gotten hired. January 2008, he started his career with fire department he's at now, municipal fire department. And it was crazy. It was, I'm going to be totally honest with you, probably the worst year of my life. I did not know what to do. I was at home by myself a lot, and he was on probation, so he was very much in the frame of mind where it was, I need to take this overtime. I need to go on this strike team. I need to do this, 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 this. I don't want to say he didn't care that we had a newborn, but his focus was completely on the job. And we did not have a conversation about it. I was very much told, this is what I'm going to do. You're going to have to figure it out. That was how we started the fire service, was like me going from the breadwinner to being a stay-at-home mom with a husband who was gone constantly. And in the middle of all that, we were going through a custody battle, and my stepdaughter was moving in with us full time. So I now had 3 kids that I was responsible for, who he had been responsible for previously because he was the one that was staying home while I worked. So we had a role reversal. And let me just tell you, I was so mad all the time. I was an anxious mess. I probably had a little bit of postpartum. I was just, I didn't know what to do. I was anxious. I was nervous. All the things. I was taking kids to school, to preschool. I was trying to breastfeed. I was trying to get these kids on a nap schedule all by myself. And I remember when he would come home off shift, the first thing I thought was, please don't mess any of this up. I have been in such a good routine with them. Please don't mess this up. And I got to tell you, I was not nice. I was so mean. And it caused such a bad vibe for the whole house. We didn't talk about it. We were terrible at discussing. The only discussions we had were raising our voices and screaming at each other, which we did in the garage a lot because we didn't want to yell in front of the kids. I remember we would wait until the kids were sleeping and go in the garage and have these massive blowout fights. I did not know if I wanted to be married to a firefighter. I really, really thought I had made a bad decision and that this was the worst mistake of our life. And I wanted to go back to the ambulance. I couldn't think of anything else. I literally hated it. I was ready to go back to work and just abandon the whole thing. I will be totally honest with you. This was the first time I ever thought about getting a divorce. I was miserable. And my husband recognized that. And we had deep discussions and we decided that we needed to go to a counselor immediately. And so we did. And honestly, it was the best thing that ever happened to us. We both came from broken homes, if you will. My parents were divorced. His parents were divorced. We had both been through some very toxic family situations. Neither of us knew how to communicate at all. And then put on top of that, pretty newly married, have 2 kids, have a, bonus child that is now your full-time responsibility, and not know how to regulate your own emotions, communicate, none of that. So, went to a counselor. Now, keep in mind, at the same time, my husband is on probation. And the probation in his department is 18 months. So we're trying to squeeze in all of these kids and go to therapy and his probation and him go on strike teams and me not lose my freaking mind at home. So fast forward, 2008, it was October, it was right after our baby's first birthday. I discovered I was pregnant again. It was not planned. Granted, we were not exactly trying to prevent it, but we had talked about having another one after he was done with probation. And because we were already on, not so great footing, we were like, let's not bring another kid into this yet. Let's figure, our shit out first. Didn't work out. So found out I was pregnant. He was not even a year into the job. And it was like, okay, shit, what are we doing now? So July 2009, I remember I was 39 weeks pregnant, and I decided it would be fun to throw him an off probation party. Because why not? What else are you going to do? He was finally off probation. A week later, I got induced, and we had now 4 kids at home. And that was insane. Man, this is giving me like flashbacks. I haven't even thought about this in so long. And I guess that's the good thing is when you, I don't want to say tough it out, but when you kind of figure stuff out together, when you decide to stick with it and you decide to learn with each other, all the stuff that happened when they were small and when you were young doesn't really matter anymore. I think we've been through so much. I look back on some stuff now and I'm like, well, that could have been prevented. Or why was I such a bitch? Or why was he such a non-communicative jerkface who didn't give a shit about anything but his career, right? There's both sides. There's always both sides. It is not just one side. It was me, my lack of communication, me not knowing how to say, I am freaking drowning here. And him not being able to say, I can't say no yet. Please just hold on. None of that was communicated at all. Sorry. We had discussed me staying home with all of the kids until our youngest was in kindergarten. And man, it was such a struggle. We bought our first house in 2010, complete fixer-upper, off the market, just ugliest house you could ever think of. Very close to my parents, close to my siblings, close to his dad. We were, very happy. We agreed that I was going to stay home as long as we could afford it. And so that's what we did. So I ended up being a stay-at-home mom for 9 years. We struggled financially for a really long time. We still managed to go on vacation, like Disneyland and things like that. But, it was few and far between. I was very lucky I had my parents helping out. I was very lucky I had my sister around. I don't know what I would have done without them. Seriously. And then, fast forward, our youngest went to kindergarten in, 2015, I went back to work part-time. And it was actually life-changing for me again. I felt like a human again. I was finding myself again. I felt like more than just a mom. And there's nothing wrong with being just a mom. And you're not ever just a mom. Moms work so freaking hard. I literally worked harder at being a stay-at-home mom than I do at my current job. Parenting is not a joke, especially in this day and age. I worked part-time so I could still be around after school to pick up the kids and just be available to them because my husband was still working constantly. And in his department specifically, there's not a ton of Mandos, and we call them forces. So I've been very lucky. He's been forced, I can count on 2 hands still. in the 18 years he's been with the department. Maybe 3 hands now, but it's very few and far between. We are very, very lucky. He works for a very small department. There's only 3 stations. There's 40 crew total. Unfortunately, no females at this time. They have all retired, but I love them all. We live in the Bay Area. It's an extremely diverse place. 2018, I actually started working remote. And then by 2020, during COVID, everybody was working remote. So I never went back to working outside of the home. I've been working remote ever since. And for me, it works perfectly, especially with my husband's job. It's so much easier for me to be able to run out and pick up the kids or run to the grocery store real quick or, do whatever needs to be done at the house while the kids are at school or while my husband's at work. And quite frankly, it's nice when he is home because I still get to see him during the day, even when I'm working. So I think that's helped us a lot, tremendously. In fact, I would encourage anybody to get a remote job. Okay, I know it's not possible for everyone, and some people love to be out of the house. So that's it in a nutshell. I was the breadwinner, then I was the stay-at-home mom. Now I'm the remote worker, and quite frankly, I don't know anybody in this day and age that can afford to stay home anymore. Especially, where we live, 1 income is not enough. Shit, 2 incomes is still not enough. Oh my God. Now we have 2 kids in college. Our little one is a sophomore, and our adult child now lives down south with her husband. Being a stay-at-home mom gave me an insight into their lives that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And I got to be there every day for them, especially when they were little. And that was very important to me. And my husband understood how important it was to me. So I'm very grateful that I was able to be with them as much as I was when they were younger. And I don't think I would do it any different if I had to. The only thing I would do different is not be so anxious and really learn how to communicate. For people who came from homes that didn't know how to communicate and only communicated by yelling or throwing things, we did not know what to do. We had no idea how to use our thoughts. The one thing I'm really big on now is communicating, even if it makes people uncomfortable, because there's always something to learn from someone just talking and really, truly listening. I'm very happy to be here. I'm so happy you're here. I really hope to amplify your stories and to be just a sounding board for you to gain your voice and hopefully learn some things from me that I had wished I had known in the beginning. See you next time.